Hey, what's up guys? John here. Over 75,000 jobs have been axed in the last 72 hours.
The layoffs are already piling up this year.
Intel, one of the biggest employers in the East Valley, announced that they're laying off 15% of their workforce.
Is cutting 4,000 jobs, about 5% of its global workforce.
Every industry is being impacted, whether you're in freight and logistics, you're a teacher, maybe you work at a hospital, you're in tech. It doesn't matter. Even construction, every industry right now has been devastated.
Americans are worried about their job security. 70% of employees are bracing for layoffs in some way.
But what happens next is the real shocker. I mean, when you see the size of these layoffs, I mean, Volkswagen, for example, just announced 2 days ago, yeah, we're going to cut 15,000 jobs.
Volkswagen could close factories in Germany for the first time in its history.
You have Cisco saying, you know what? Yeah, we laid off 4,000 employees. Now we're going to lay off 5,600 employees. You have Boeing laying off tens of thousands of employees.
Boeing and thousands of striking workers.
Boeing is now threatening sweeping cuts and layoffs as they now enter day 5 of a machinist strike.
This is all the last 24 to 48 hours. Just 3 companies laying off 50,000 employees. Just 3. But when they talk about a soft landing, saying everything is going to be good, everything is going to be great.
Is this a soft landing?
I think it's a soft landing. And if I'm the Fed, I'm pleased.
Why are the smartest minds in finance laying off thousands of people? Why are they getting ready for something far worse than a recession? JP Morgan, Chase, it's the largest bank in America. Jamie Dimon, the CEO, said something much worse is coming than a recession. All corporations are getting ready for exactly that, a major crisis inside of the economy. In this video, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you exactly what these companies are doing and exactly what they say comes next. Please hit the like button. YouTube will share the content, educate more people about what's happening. I made many bold predictions in the past. I think this one, without doubt, is going to come true like many of the ones that I've already made. Look at this. In July, a report on the fall of Denver and the fall of Ohio, 2 months before the media. In 2023, I predicted federal rent control would come and food price controls would come to combat inflation. The White House is now working to make both of these laws.
Passed the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
My incredible team provides tomorrow's news today. Only 30% of all viewers are subscribed. If you subscribe, the algorithm will reward the channel and we can expand and grow and hire more researchers. Thank you for simply clicking the red button to subscribe to the channel. Now on to the video. I mean, it's just shocking. Tech layoffs, 2024, lay off 27,000. That was in August, 27,000 people, right? Here, IBM, this came out yesterday. IBM quietly axing thousands of jobs. IBM told the Register that IBM is experiencing a massive layoff in the past few days. Now, what do you consider as massive when they have 288,000 employees? Is it, maybe it's 1%, 2,800, 2%, 5,700, 3%, 8,600? I would consider massive 10%. Like that's a massive cut, right? Maybe it's less, but if that is the number, 28,000 people, even if it's 10, if it's 5,000, that is so many people that will be impacted. That's one company. Then you have here, Bay Area tech layoffs, online learning giant to cut 280 employees, rehire in lower cost regions. That's exactly what we're walking into, the great outsourcing. Here, Wall Street Journal, this came out today. Tech jobs have dried up and aren't coming back soon. Finding a job in tech by applying online was fruitless. So Glenn resorted to another tactic. It involved paper and duct tape. That's how bad the job market is right now. You have here 2,600 CarePoint employees setting for December 12th possible layoffs. Came out 2 days ago. Here, New Jersey hospital workers could lose jobs, one of the biggest layoff plans this year. Came out yesterday. Right? All these companies issuing these, because this hospital in Texas, they're talking about 1 in 10 Texas hospitals at risk of closing. It's literally every single industry. But one of the major industries that I think is going to get completely flipped on its head because of these higher interest rates and a struggling consumer is going to be automotive. And a lot of these new legislations that are set to bring forward major changes with green energy, it's the electric vehicles, this big push. And these companies are getting ready for it. You have UAW, on strike. Stellantis, a year after unprecedented work stoppages. I mean, look at this. They made predictions in the past. Back then, it seemed far-fetched. It seemed radical and crazy. But we're moving in this direction. It says some reports say that car ownership will drop 80%. 20% of Americans will own cars in 6 years, right? That was the prediction. In 2017, Business Insider, only 20% of Americans will own a car in 15 years, right? Then Forbes, 2017, private car ownership will drop 80%, right in the same timeline. You have all these major publications. NBC, why 95% of your driving won't be in your car. Right here, by 2030, EVs represent 60% of vehicles sold. Everything is going to move into this, new normal. And so when you start to look at these industries that are being impacted, it's all in line with what's coming for the U.S. economy, a major period of disruption. Boeing layoffs begin with more ahead to cut costs during machinist strike 2 or 3 days ago, right? Here in Seattle public schools consider closing at least 17 schools to help a $100 million deficit 6 days ago. So when you look at what's going on with these cities all across America, you look at how they're funded. Schools, street services, police departments, fire departments, they're funded predominantly by tax revenue. Property taxes on both residential and commercial property and sales taxes. When you have commercial real estate values plummeting and a lot of these buildings being sold for 50 cents on the dollar, the taxable revenue is going to fall with it. And as that happens, there grows the deficit. And so when you start to see these big cities walking into this problem that Seattle's walking into, you can imagine what's going to happen to the jobs that are connected to that revenue. It's going to be crazy. Here, like teacher strikes lead to higher pay, right? Lower classroom sizes. So you think about this. Is UAW on strike for, higher pay? Are the teachers unions, are they on strike for higher pay? Possibly. That's probably the conversation being had. But if you were to look at it from the other side of the table, it would make more sense for these teachers and these people to go on strike so that they could possibly lose their job and maybe not get the bonus or, the raise that they were promised or they were hoping to get, and they can be released without severance and without, these packages, these pay packages. That's what I think is happening. I think it's across all industries right now. Frontier flight attendants vote to authorize strike 15 hours ago, right? How, this right strike, they have a whole new movement. It's the enabled flight attendant contract, right? So they can strike much more easily. Here's where I think all this is going. So McKinsey had this article. It says 30% of the world's workforce will lose their jobs to AI within 7 years. According to McKinsey, an expected 400 to 800 million people lose their job to AI. Now, this is their prediction. If that does happen, imagine what that would mean for property values. Imagine what that would mean for small businesses and their ability to, hire and retain talent at a wage in which people need to survive in, this inflationary world, right? We would see disruption to the likes in which we've never before seen. In 1929 to 1933, during the Great Depression, unemployment rate was just south of 30%. When you're talking about this level of disruption, when you're looking at everything across all these industries right now, and then you see Leon Black, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, you see the Walton family, the Walmart family, and you're seeing all of these major players unloading stock in 2021, 2022, and even today. Why? It's because we're walking into the great disruption and people want to cash out. These smart people want to cash out before the masses get hip to what's about to happen to the U.S. economy. Now, when you hear about these 50 basis points, this big, cut, a lot of people are thinking maybe we're going to have a soft landing. It doesn't look like it. I mean, right here, 3 weeks ago, universal basic income, what UBI is, how it works, how it would affect the economy, and what supporters and critics would say. Now, if you look at what's happening in Newsweek right here, universal basic income is close to becoming a reality in one state, Oregon. They're talking about voting a UBI in. Imagine what will likely happen if this starts to become the normal, which I personally believe it's a matter of time. If a UBI does come forward, how would it get funded? It would be funded through taxable income, revenue, business revenue. And so if we start to see a world where taxes go up on small businesses and taxes go up in general to offset this cost, you could just imagine the change that will be unfolding in America. It would be unreal. And I think that's what a lot of these business owners and a lot of these corporations are getting ready for. Massive change. It's very hard to predict exactly how this situation will unravel. But if you have this level of disruption, 30%, people are going to need financial assistance, and someone's going to have to pay for it. I mean, it looks like we're ramping up quickly over the next year, and I would not be surprised to see us in 2025 walking into a great financial crisis far worse than 2008, 2009, 2010. And it looks like these corporations are, they're getting ready for this major, major, major storm. I mean, what are the odds, though, that every single industry is doing the same exact thing? Every single industry. If it was just tech, I would say, you know what, maybe they're overpaying people $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year salaries when they could outsource it and they could, find ways in which they can automate things just like they did with X, right? They fired a lot of the staff and a lot of the employees and the company's still running. Maybe that would be a one-off scenario. But when it's every single industry, from freight to teachers to hospitals to, even airlines, it's cars, automotive, every industry is doing the same exact thing. Strikes, massive layoffs, and cost cutting, job outsourcing, AI. I mean, this is what they're all doing. Cisco shifts their focus to AI growth. We're walking into a changing world. And I think if you have plans of creating tremendous wealth for yourself, getting out of high interest rate consumer credit card debt should be paramount if you have it, because there's nothing, many people want to invest to get a 5, 10, 15, 20% return, and that's great. But if you have a credit card balance at, and the interest rate's 29%, that's a guaranteed 29% interest rate that you're paying to somebody else. So if you can get out of high interest rate credit card debt, now's the time to do so. If you have a high interest credit card balance and you don't know what to do, if you have good credit, you can do a balance transfer. There's many companies still offering 12 to 24 months, 0% interest. And you could transfer that balance and just get on a strict pay down schedule, try to pay it off without paying any interest. There's ways in which to do it. But now's the time to prepare, because it looks like a major storm is about to rip through the economy. Let's have a conversation about this below. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we would love to help you at my company, greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative or derogatory items in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com, click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free call for tomorrow. Catch you next video.
Starting from the night of September 11th, there were unidentified flying objects spotted in Tianjin for 3 consecutive nights. These incidents affected flight operations at Tianjin International Airport, impacting thousands of passengers. According to China's official statement, these were drone intrusions. However, many people doubt this explanation, questioning if these objects were UFOs, as drones usually cannot fly for 10 hours. The incident on the night of September 11th at Tianjin Binhai Airport has been dubbed the Tianjin 9/11 incident. On the night of September 11th, without any unusual weather conditions, Tianjin Binhai Airport activated a yellow-level emergency response plan and canceled all flights, effectively closing the airport. From around 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., 29 flights were delayed, 8 were canceled, and 32 had to land at other airports. Some flights circled above the airport dozens of times but couldn't land, affecting more than 3,000 passengers. One flight was supposed to land in Tianjin but couldn't. It circled the airport 13 times before being diverted to Beijing Daxing Airport. The reason given was that a drone was flying above, preventing safe landing. In the past, drones have disrupted airport operations, but this time was different and more serious. On the night of September 12th, despite increased security measures at the airport and by the police, the drone appeared again, causing multiple flights to circle and being unable to land at Tianjin Binhai Airport. On the night of September 13th, there were more unidentified objects in Tianjin, with several glowing objects moving in the sky. Witnesses said sometimes there were 4, sometimes 5. On September 14th, reports emerged that drones also disrupted Chuzhou Airport in Zhejiang, causing several flights to be cancelled. Chuzhou Airport is a military-civilian airport and an important base for the PLA Air Force along the coast of the East China Sea. When civilian flights take off or land there, passengers are usually required to keep window shades down and are not allowed to take photos. In the early morning of September 14th at 5:25 a.m., residents in multiple areas of Beijing saw a large glowing object in the sky, rotating over a wide area.
What's flying over here? Just now there was only one, but now there are 3. What is this thing?
On the evening of September 14th at 6 p.m., a Beijing resident captured footage of an unidentified flying object moving from east to west. Initially, it appeared as a misty light with a large halo on the east side. It made no sound and gradually dispersed into 3 glowing spheres. Another person near the North 5th Ring Road in Beijing also saw a mysterious halo in the sky. In the video, they mentioned, "I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and looked outside. I saw a strange bright light. At first, I thought it was a commercial spotlight, but this mysterious light covered a wide area with no pattern. At one point, multiple beams of light suddenly appeared, rotated across the sky, and then vanished." One person commented, "Last night it was as bright as daylight outside my home, but the sky was full of dark clouds. How could it be so bright like it was 6 p.m.? It's really strange." Footage showed the sky over Beijing filled with glowing objects, raising curiosity about what these glowing entities could be. Regarding the incident at Tianjin Airport, the strange thing is that the supposed drones faced almost no effective countermeasures. Drone jamming guns, usually regarded as airport defenders, seemed useless this time. Many questioned why these drones weren't just shot down. How could a small civilian drone cause Tianjin Airport to close for nearly 10 hours? In 2022, a drone also appeared over Shenyang Airport, but the airport staff quickly brought it down in just a few minutes, with no major impact on flights. With China's surveillance technology, finding the person behind the drone isn't supposed to be difficult, so why did these incidents continue for several days? The videos online showed various shapes of these unidentified flying objects. Some were round, some were triangular, and some had flashing lights, and others had visible fire engines. Many people doubted the official explanation that they were merely drones. They raised several questions. First, civilian drones usually have a maximum flight time of around 30 minutes and a flight altitude limit of 500 meters. The drones over the Tianjin airport far exceeded these capabilities in terms of endurance, speed, and altitude. Second, airports have electronic fencing technology, preventing drones from taking off near the area. Civilian drones come with pre-programmed no-fly zones, making it impossible for operators to fly them into such areas. Third, airports have devices to interfere with drone signals. Once detected, a drone should be intercepted or shot down by electronic jamming guns. For these reasons, many found it hard to believe that they were just regular drones. Civilian drones are small and light, but if they collide with a plane in flight, it can lead to a fatal accident. That's why drones are banned around airports. Some analysts believe that this incident was a deliberate intrusion. A social media user named Captain Xinghai shared details, stating that special police deployed radar and jamming vehicles but couldn't suppress the invading drones. So far, no suspected drone operators have been caught. Not only did these drones fly in restricted airspace, but they also ignored all countermeasures as if toying with the airport. They first appeared around 7 p.m. on September 11th, forcing the airport to shut down. At 10:20 p.m., the airport announced that neither visual nor radar observations detected any drones, allowing flights to resume after 40 minutes per regulations. However, around 11 p.m., drones reappeared on the east side of the airport. This caused the airport to remain closed until 6 a.m. the next day, totaling around 10 hours. This incident is far from simple. These drones flew in a no-fly zone and defied all jamming equipment, with a single battery usually lasting around 30 minutes, yet they persisted for 3 hours. On the night of September 12th, they returned despite the police being on high alert. This suggests a deliberate provocation rather than an accidental intrusion. These drones must have been modified to counter the airport's various defense measures. Captain Xinghai speculates that the drones in Tianjin might be the new wired control drones recently seen on the Russia-Ukraine battlefield. It's well known that the Russia-Ukraine conflict has become dominated by drones, with various FPV drones filling the sky. Both sides have been so fearful of drone attacks that they've welded iron grates onto tanks, and soldiers have even used fishing nets for protection. To counter drone attacks, both Russian and Ukrainian forces have procured drone jammers from an unknown country through various channels. These include portable backpack jammers, jamming guns, and jamming vehicles. As a result, drones that rely on 2.4G or 5.8G channels for remote control and image transmission are now at a significant risk. However, the new wire-controlled drones on the battlefield are different. They fly with a fiber optic cable, replacing remote control with fiber optic wired control. Although these drones have a short flight range of only 5 kilometers, they do not rely on wireless communication, making them immune to radio surveillance and interference, thereby avoiding most jamming methods. If these were indeed drones, it would be one of the most severe cases of deliberate interference with civil aviation in recent years, crossing from a public safety issue into national security. This drone incident in Tianjin has caused significant losses for the airlines. The worst affected flight on September 11th was the one traveling from Shenzhen to Tianjin. Just when passengers thought they would soon land, an announcement informed them of an unidentified flying object in the sky, causing panic. The plane circled Tianjin 6 times but couldn't land, eventually diverting to Beijing Daxing Airport. The airport tried to accommodate the passengers by arranging buses and hotels, but despite these efforts, many passengers were very upset. For the flights that were delayed, cancelled, or rerouted, airlines had to cover various costs, paying for ground fees, overtime for crew members, extra fuel consumption, and providing meals and accommodations for passengers. In total, each flight faced losses of at least 1 million yuan. For more than 30 affected flights, the total loss could reach tens of millions. What was the purpose behind the drones invading Tianjin Airport? Online chat records suggest that those controlling the drones might be seeking revenge on certain individuals. A chat screenshot from Tianjin caught people's attention. It stated, "They intervened, blocking the outer ring road and searching each trunk for the remote control." This implies that authorities were conducting a thorough search to find the drone operators, even checking every car trunk. Someone commented, "Who would be dumb enough to keep the remote? They'd have thrown it into the river by now." Some independent media sources also noted that the Tianjin Binhai Airport is a significant location. Former Chinese President Hu Jintao developed the airport for military purposes in North China, easing Beijing's wartime difficulties. Tianjin Airport is under strict military management, making a drone intrusion seem unlikely. A well-known blogger, Long Ya, wrote, "Those familiar with the aviation industry know that China's airspace is not just managed by the Civil Aviation Administration. Above it, there is the Air Force. The Air Force doesn't typically inform local aviation departments about real air conditions to protect military secrets. The closure of Tianjin Binhai Airport for public safety reasons over 2 days is most likely due to military reasons." Many people agreed with this analysis, but the post was quickly deleted by authorities. Veteran journalist Tang Junyuan told the media, "There are 2 possibilities. One is that people controlling these drones are highly skilled in evading detection. They know how law enforcement operates and may have prepared in advance to remain hidden for an extended period. Another possibility is that this incident involves internal CCP factions. High-ranking CCP officials' residences are well protected, with advanced surveillance surrounding them. It's unlikely that the suspects could hide without leaving any trace unless they had high-level support or inside connections." Tang added, "No matter the actual reason, the fact that these suspects haven't been caught reflects a reality. The CCP's judicial and public security agencies, which appear powerful with surveillance everywhere, are practically paralyzed and ineffective when it comes to protecting citizens' lives." Some witnesses believe this drone incident doesn't seem like an ordinary event. Many speculate that it wasn't drones at all, but possibly UFOs. Images circulating online show that these objects in Tianjin resemble the luminous, distant, and varying shapes seen in a similar incident in Hangzhou Xiaoshan Airport. The Xiaoshan Airport UFO incident occurred on the night of July 7, 2010. The incident at the Xiaoshan Airport in 2010 led to an emergency airport shutdown and widespread flight delays. Witnesses at the time described seeing a large white UFO in the sky. Despite it being nighttime, the area suddenly became as bright as day, illuminating at least a few hundred meters around. It was so bright that everything was clearly visible. The UFO moved rapidly across the sky, giving the impression of conducting a ground scan. After a while, it appeared as if the sky cracked open, and the object quickly vanished. News of the Xiaoshan Airport UFO quickly spread online. Even 14 years later, the incident remains unresolved with no clear explanation. Recently, several people who experienced the Xiaoshan incident shared their accounts online. One person wrote, "Apart from the pilots, no one knows the incident better than I do. I was a crane operator, working overtime to lift materials when it happened. The crane was over 150 meters high. That thing was definitely not man-made. Unfortunately, I forgot to take my phone with me to capture it. Another person shared, I was fortunate to be there, staying for more than 10 minutes in the waiting hall under the UFO before staff escorted us away. At first, I thought it was a military aircraft. It felt strange. I had the sensation of my legs wanting to float, like the resistance you feel when standing in the ocean. Someone else recounted, my dad and I were there when it happened. I was just over 10 years old at that time. My dad had a DSLR camera and took some photos. He showed them to his company leaders, and one of them reported it. The military police then took the camera and asked how much it cost. They gave us 7,000 yuan in cash, and the camera was confiscated.